Orach v'rochim aba'im to everyone. Today, Monday, the 26th day of Tammuz, corresponding to the 25th day of July. Today's special breakfast and class graciously sponsored by the Lapidot and Mizrahi family, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved wife, their beloved mother, Yafa Bat Shulamit Aleha Shalom. Additionally, today's class graciously sponsored by Yaakov Cohen, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved grandmother, Rivka Bat Naomi Aleha Shalom. Additionally, today's class dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat, Mrs. Lily Safra, Leah Bat Dov Akohen Ben Hana Vehana Aleha Shalom. And class of today dedicated for the Refuah Shelema of Leah Bat Sara and Miriam Bat Basha. Hashem should give him Refuah Shelema among all of the Cholim of Am Israel. Amen. So, we know that we finding ourselves literally a few days away from Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av. And we know that with the arrival of Rosh Chodesh Av, which this year happens to be on Erev Shabbat, a certain set of halachot become activated. But this year, the way by divine providence the calendar happens to be is Erev Shabbat, Friday is Rosh Chodesh, and then you have Shabbat. So really, the bulk of the adjustment in the halakha will become activated from Mosa'e Shabbat and not before. So we'll wait till Friday, that is also the Hilulah of Aharon HaKohen Alav Shalom, and we'll try to do a combo package between Aharon HaKohen and the new set of halachot which are applicable from that day. But we all agree and know and understand that we are not on the usual happy and joyous mode like we are before 17 of Tammuz. Once Shiva Asar Tammuz, once the fast day of the 17th of Tammuz arrived, we already are making adjustments to our daily life, if it's in the concept of getting married, or partying, or music, etc. And we'll discuss now from more of a spiritual perspective. The Zohar of today discusses, if I'm able to say such a thing, the feeling of Hashem in these days. Because we need to remember the following. When we talk, let's say, about remembering a relative, let's say, someone that has v'shalom passed away, there are many ways how people deal with this matter. But one thing is for sure, the closer we get to a certain key date in the calendar, the emotion starts flowing. Let's say somebody that lost a parent, has v'shalom, or God forbid a spouse or a close relative. Maybe through the year they are okay, but comes the day of the yortzeit, or comes the day of the wedding anniversary, and they feel a certain type of emotion. So it says the Zohar HaKadosh, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu struggles. And I clarify, I am using human words for us to have a bit of an understanding what the Zohar HaKadosh is trying to say. We can't compare the emotions of a human with the emotions of Hashem. We cannot understand what does it mean that God struggles. God is Melech Kol Haaretz Kevodo, Melech Malchei HaMelachim, the King of Kings, the Almighty, the one and only, the infinite one. And yet the Zohar HaKadosh says, true, but also God feels part of the pain that the Jewish people experience through the Galut. But the Zohar HaKadosh begins and it says, Kol hamitabel imah iske lismoach le'atid lavo. It says the Zohar HaKadosh something very powerful, and it says that a person that mourns the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, Hashem will give the person to celebrate the building of the Bet HaMikdash. Now, if we ask anyone how really we can relate to the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, I never saw the Bet HaMikdash. The closest to seeing the Bet HaMikdash was the Kotel. That's it. You see the Kotel, if you're lucky, you go to the underground tunnels, right? They pinpoint certain areas, and that's it. You're telling me to mourn about something that happened close to 2,000 years ago, but I think that to take care of that question, we need to understand what is the consequence of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. The consequence of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, strike number one, is galut, exile. That we are in exile. We are scattered through the four corners of the world. Like the other day, I think in Tampa, right? There was a white supremacist, so to speak, parade. Okay? And in many places in South Florida, people are waking up with pamphlets and Ziploc bags, with all kinds of anti-Semitic statements and designs and diagrams and names, etc. Why is that happening? I don't have the answer. But you know what I do have the answer for? Hashem is reminding us we are in exile. We are in galut. Even in America, that has been very kind and benevolent to the Jewish people throughout the history, and to many minorities and many individuals who went through difficult times in their life, opened the doors, opened the gates, but still, we cannot forget the fact that this is a temporary dwelling for all of us. We are in exile. We are in galut. And the more a person understands that, the more we have this desire for Mashiach to come. Why? Because when we speak about Mashiach's arrival, don't think for a moment that we want Mashiach to come to take over the world. That's not our goal. That's not our plan. This is what the white supremacists say and act accordingly. What they say, is it you? Oh, Mashiach maybe just came. Okay, almost. At least his name is David, so right. Anyways, so what happens? Has v'shalom, the idea of Mashiach's arrival is one goal and one goal only, that the world will be fulfilled with the knowledge of godliness. Is a pasuk in the Navi that says, "Umalea haaretz de'a et Hashem kamayim layam mechasim." The world will be filled with the knowledge of godliness like the waters cover the ocean. That will be the ultimate goal for Mashiach's arrival. Obviously, that comes with dividends. That comes with benefits. When the godliness takes over the world, there is another pasuk that says, "Lo yisa goy el goy herev, velo yilmedu ad milchama." It says the wars in the world will no longer exist. As long as wars are happening in the world, that is a sign that Mashiach did not come yet. The moment that there is ceasefire and there is peace in the world, that may be a sample of what Mashiach times will be. That the entire world will be at peace. Belo ilmedu od milchama. What is the meaning of the second part of the verse? The first verse says, Lo yisa goy goy herev. They will not lift weapons against each nation. Belo ilmedu od milchama means they will not discuss tactics of war, of how to defeat the enemy. They will put down their weapons and they will start taking care of the land. You know how much money nations invest and waste in wars? And many times wars continue because there is a financial incentive and interest involved with it. Don't be naive. Okay? I'm not going to go too deep. But that's the reality of life. That's the reality of life. Sometimes wars is what a political movement is requires in order to balance the world. I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that I'm very close to the reality. Comes the Zohar Kadosh and it says, don't think for a moment. If we think for a moment that the Jewish people are in exile only, the Zohar says no. The Zohar says two words, Shechinta begaluta. Godliness is also in exile. Allow me to bring this mashal, this parable. Imagine yourself that a parent has a child and the child needs to have surgery. Not because the child is having the surgery and not the parent, the pain of the parent is non-existent. The pain of the parent is existent. And if they will be able to trade in themselves for their child, in order for the child not to suffer, God forbid, through a surgery, they will do it. And that's why the Pasuk says, Kerahem abal banim, ken terahamenu Hashem Elokeinu. We say, like the compassion and mercy that a father, a parent has on a child, so is the compassion of Hashem upon the Jewish people. And only out of Hashem's compassion, we are alive. We, as I said this in the past, we were not supposed to be around. We were supposed to be gone based on the physical aspect of life through every drama and every tragedy and every Holocaust and every pogrom and every Inquisition and every crusade and every communism and every Cossacks that came and attacked the Jewish people. We should have been part of a museum and part of a textbook, not making noise in the world that we are doing, because we do noise in the world. We do create a lot of noise. And that's why a Jew has a lot of additional responsibilities that the rest of the world doesn't have it. If a Gentile does something wrong, the world ignores it. But if a Jew does something wrong, is on top of the list. And if the Jew is observant, even worse. That's why we have two concepts in the Torah. Kiddush Hashem, to sanctify God's names, to be ambassadors of Hashem, and avoiding Hilul Hashem, desecrating the name of Hashem. How does a Jew desecrate the name of Hashem? There are many options. One option is among Jewish people. Option number two, to the outside world. Sometimes, the Halakha writes, a person, for example, who talks during Kaddish or Hazara, for example, that person at this moment is creating Hilul Hashem, is desecrating the name of God. Why are you desecrating? Because I'm talking to my friend. I'm desecrating, I'm talking. Says exactly, because you are talking when we are praising Hashem. Somebody asked me a question the other night. Why in some congregations people stand up for Kaddish? Or why, if the Kaddish began and you are standing, you cannot sit? You have to wait till the first half of the Kaddish finishes. So the short answer is as follows. What is the prayer of the Kaddish? Praising God. So when we are praising Hashem, how can you sit? It's like your father went up to the Sefer. Can you sit if your father is up in the Sefer Torah? No, what are you supposed to do? Hazak Baruch. You have to wait till he finishes the Aliyah. You should go to your father, kiss the hand, and then you go back to your seat. But that's the tradition. The moment your father or your father-in-law goes up to the Sefer, you're supposed to stand up. According to the Halakha, even your older brother or your grandfather, not your younger brother, because your younger brother is obligated to honor the older brother. And let's clarify. Although we're supposed to honor everyone, there are different levels of honoring. Honoring in the basic level means I talk to you with respect. Honoring from the parent and siblings is standing up when they go up to the Sefer, etc. So says the Zohar Kadosh, and it says that also the Almighty feels the pain and the exile like the rest of the Jewish people are feeling it. But the Zohar Kadosh says that this pain that is roaming throughout the world is not limited to Hashem and to the Jewish people, but every single creation of the world, including the sun and including the moon and the stars, they also follow the pattern. That is the reason why in the Birkat HaLevana prayer, the pasuk comes from Yeshaya HaNavi at the end of the Birkat HaLevana that customarily said Mosa'e Tisha V'Av. Even though you can say Birkat HaLevana according to the Sephardic tradition from the 7th day of the birth of the moon, we don't say it till Mosa'e Tisha V'Av. Till Tisha V'Av is over, then we say it. Why? Because Birkat HaLevana, you're supposed to be happy. When you say Birkat HaLevana, is connected to Ishak Avinu. Ishak has to do with laughter, and therefore you're supposed to be on a happy mode when you say Birkat HaLevana. For that reason, we try to do Birkat HaLevana on Mosa'e Shabbat. Why on Mosa'e Shabbat? Because you still carry the holiness of the Shabbat and you dress in Shabbat clothes, and therefore you do the mitzvah in a better way. Since before Tisha B'Av, no one is in a happy mode because the essence of the day makes the days a bit more sad and somber. So we wait till Motza'e Tisha B'Av, that now the fast is over and is a very crucial time in human life for Mashiach to come, and therefore that sense of happiness allows me to recite Birkat HaLevana. If you look at the Birkat HaLevana, Mehilal, do you have Birkat HaLevana in your Siddur? It should be there. That's not a Siddur? Okay, that's an extra curriculum prayer book. Beautiful. Hazakovah, right? So if we look at the end of Birkat HaLevana, usually it's after Arvi, right?
Yeah, you got it right there too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, tell
I have it, right here. The Pasuk writes, Vehaya ora levana ke ora hama. And the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. Beora hama ye shiv'atayim. And the light of the sun will be 7 times fold. Ke'or shiv'at hayamim. Like the light in the 7 days of the creation. There is a discussion, what does it mean, the word shiv'atayim? Shiv'atayim means 7 times 7, which is 49, or 7 times 2, which is 14. Beyom, the day, Habosh Hashem Esheber Amo, God will wound, or how do you put that? Will bandage.
Heal.
Not heal. Will bandage the brokenness of the nation, and the wound will heal. Now, what is this pasuk is telling me now? That suddenly no more night? If the moon will be like the sun, and the sun will be many times stronger, so what happened to the concept of night? No more night? I'm not going to sleep ever again? So I think that is important to explain this concept very quickly. I'm sure the Kahal Kadosh knows that in the beginning of the creation, Rashi breaks it down in Bereshit, the sun and the moon were created equal. Same size, same amount of light. Comes the moon and says to God, God, it's impossible that 2 kings will share the same crown. One is big, the other one is big. One is light, the other one is light. Who is going to run the show? In English, I think they say, too many cooks in the kitchen. Or too many chiefs and not too many Indians. Chiefs, not chiefs. Okay? With an F. So what does God says to the moon? Lechi uma'ati et atzmech. You know what? Great question. You're going to become minimized. Lechi, go. Uma'ati et atzmech. Shrink yourself. Shrink yourself. That's how the sun and the moon became separated. And that's why the sun is the biggest star. And the moon is much more reduced. And not only that, the moon has no light of its own. All the light of the moon today is from the sun. The moon is in the east, the sun is on the west. The sun is on the east, the moon is on the west. And that's how the rotation happens throughout the day, and we have the concept of day and night. So far, so good? But comes the Navi, and it says, wait, that is only on a temporary basis. Once Mashiach comes, we have a whole different ballgame. Let's see again. Behaya ora levana ke ora hama. The light of the moon will be restored to be like the light of the sun today. Beora hama, and what's going to be with the light of the moon, of the sun? Many times more like it was in Bereshit. How was the sun different then and now? Short answer. When the sun was created, it had a certain potency. That potency was camouflaged by the sin of Adam and Hava. Rashi calls this a reduction of the potency of the sun, nartik, a shell. A shell. God put a shell on the sun. So the sun that we have today is not shining with the power and the potency that it was created in Bereshit. We only are getting a sample. So can you imagine if this is a sample, how hot has been these past few days? The heat waves.
So the climate change is the announcement of the arrival of the Mashiach?
Depends who you ask. You have to understand that the climate change protocol is utilized from a governmental perspective. So I don't know too much about it. I don't really follow that topic. But I do know that the world currently is experiencing a tremendous amount of heat. If it's New York, if it's New Jersey, if it's in Europe, how many forestal fires have been in Europe exceeding 100, 104, 108, 112? You know what that means? A lot of heat. So who knows? Maybe the shell is cracking and gradually Mashiach is on the way.
Amen.
I like to believe that. I'm a believer. Baruch Hashem. And I don't need much to believe. Okay? But because I understand a couple of things, I see things sometimes from a different perspective. So then you will ask, how are we going to survive the heat if, even if we go with the lenient opinion that the heat of the sun it's multiplied only 14 times, not 49 times. How are we going to survive? So there is an answer to that pasuk. Shemesh, Tzedakah, Umarpeh. The sun will become God's agent for justice and healing. Tzedakah here doesn't mean charity. Tzedakah here means justice. God will settle the score. And marpeh. What's the meaning of marpeh? Healing. Every person that is going to be, Chas v'shalom, sick, walk on the street and you will be healed. Today it's called laser surgery. Understand? And therefore it says, Karev Yom, another pasuk, Asher lo yom velo laila. Will come a day that day and night will no longer exist. So then your question will be, hold on, how can it be a day without night? And how can it be night without a day? So I think to answer this question, we need to understand what is the meaning of day and what is the meaning of night. What is the meaning of night? Night can only exist due to the lack of light. If I have light, I don't have darkness. And I think that this is brought down in the name of the Chovat HaLevavot and maybe some other mega master that says, Ksat or dohe arbe min hachoshech. A little bit of light dissipates a lot of darkness. So, if I have darkness at this moment, and I don't mean, God forbid, darkness in the life, but I'm talking about the day now. If I have certain hours of the day that it becomes dark, when Mashiach comes, is only light. And if it's only night, only light, the night disappears. No more darkness. But if you want to take this one level deeper, okay? You know, I mentioned this yesterday night in the Ereyat. I mentioned a pasuk from Iyov that says 3 words. Kes sam lachoshech. There is a deadline for darkness. Iyov is teaching us, based on the commentaries on that pasuk, that even if a person, God forbid, feels that throughout their life they are going through a certain chapter of darkness, even that chapter of darkness has an expiration date. In other words, darkness doesn't last forever, even when it becomes dark at night. It comes to a point, the darkness grows till dawn. Once dawn comes, alot shahar, the dark starts disappearing because the natural daylight starts coming up on the horizon. So as the light comes up, the darkness goes down and looks for a different customer in another part of the world. But when Mashiach comes, which is revelation of Hashem to an extent that our mind will be clean, tranquility, happiness, harmony, no more war, no more death, and no more crying. Can you imagine? And that's what we say usually to the Avelim. When God forbid you have the Avelim, the mourners, what do we say to them? Umaha Hashem dim'a me'al kol panim. God will wipe away the tears of every eye. What does it mean? You will not cry. You will not cry, even though today we cry for different reasons, but crying is the manifestation of pain and suffering in the heart. That sometimes, God forbid, a person is in avelut, etc., in the morning, you cry. But why you cry? Because of the passing of a person. But if Mashiach comes, Umaha Shem Dim'a, Bila Mabit Lanesah, death will be abolished forever. And yes, I must say the following. There will be a certain type of death for everyone, but that's not considered death. That is waking up from a dream. Is a pasuk. Hayinu keholmim. It's a pasuk from David HaMelech. Shir HaMa'alot. Beshuv Hashem Eshivat Zion. Hayinu keholmim. When Mashiach comes, he's like a person wakes up, and he says, wow, what a dream I had. Az yemale sehapinu ulshonenu rinna. Then our mouth will be full of laughter, and our tongue of praises to Hashem. So that's what I mean, that everybody will experience the death. Doesn't mean, God forbid, a physical death, but it's going to be the transition, because one thing is going to happen when Mashiach comes. And I will say the following disclaimer. I don't know in which order of events things will happen. One thing we know, that we mentioned it on Shabbat, very briefly, talking about Pinchas, that Eliyahu Navi needs to come and announce Mashiach's arrival. It's a pasuk in the book of Malachi. And we have other things, the wars, we have Gog and Magog, the nations of the world accepting Mashiach as the leadership of the mankind, peace in Israel, peace in the entire world, no more illnesses, no more death, etc. Tahiyat HaMetim. All these are a lot of words that are part of an ultimate master plan. But if you ask me, Rabbi, can you build the puzzle for me, piece 1, 2, 3, 4, 20? I will humbly say, I don't know that answer. And this is written by the Rambam. The Rambam, Maimonides, writes that everything that we say and everything that we speak about is based on the book of the Nevi'im, based on the writings of the Zohar HaKadosh like today, but the Metziut is, no one knows exactly how everything is going to play. What will be 1, what will be 2, what will be 3, what will be 17. But one thing is for sure. Beruach hadasha eten bekirbechem. It will be a reset for humanity. Humanity will have a reset. And I don't mean the reset of technology or the reset of the internet. But imagine yourself, sometimes you get a new phone, right? And you're going to return the phone to get a new one. What they ask you, did you reset your phone? Yeah. What does that mean, resetting? Go back to factory outlet. Go back to zero. Zero memories, zero emails, no private or personal information. Only what the factory built in as an operating system you have. Guess what? When Mashiach comes, we all are going to go to factory outlet, the creation time of Adam and Hava before sinning. What does it mean? Without Yetzer Hara, without hatred, without animosity, without anger, without sadness, all negative things that unfortunately make up the chemistry and the DNA of us as humans, it will be gone. And that's why the pasuk says, Ruach hadasha eten bekirbechem. I'm going to give you now a new identity. I'm going to erase your past. I'm going to give you a brand new identity, a perfect person. But that promotion is not limited to you or me. That's going to be for every person of the world, including Goyim. Sure. What, Goyim are a part of Mashiach's arrival is for the Goyim as well. Now, how many people will be in the world when Mashiach comes? I don't have that answer. Because one of the things that will be happening around that time, it will be God settling the score with everyone who acted in an aggressive or criminal manner against the Jewish people. And that's why there is a settlement of the scores. How that's going to happen, don't ask me. I believe I have the answer, but I'm not going to say it for obvious security reasons. Okay? But it's written in the holy books. It's written in the holy books. Yeah, God will settle the score. I don't know nothing. I only know what's written. I add my own seasoning sometimes. But that's part of a good chef, right?
That's right.
You can't just copy the recipe. I have to have a twist.
Yeah.
But that's what's written in the holy books. That Goim, is Aftara. Remember the Aftara?
Welcome in Sukkot to the temple.
Exactly, I was about to bring it out. What's the Aftara? Besides the Chiyat HaMetim, Begar Ze'ev in Keves. The lamb will dwell with the wolf. Now, how could it be? And a lion will eat grass, and children will play with snakes. How could it be? How could it be that a lamb and a wolf will be friends? How could it be that a lion and a cow will walk together and eat? So we need to understand that all aggression, all cruelty, and all deficiencies that exist in humanity are all results of the consequences of galut, of exile, and the Yetzer Hara that is active. But once Mashiach comes, the Gemara writes, Atid HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Gemara writes in Sukkah that Hashem will take the Yetzer Hara and will slaughter him in front of the world. The Hida explains that it doesn't mean literally slaughtering, but it's basically retiring the Yetzer Hara, remove the battery, and put him in a museum. That's it. Thank you, antique, under key, safe, unlock, and throw away the key. So once that negative power of negativity, of darkness, of sadness, of anger, of aggression, of arrogance, of selfishness, etc., is gone, so guess what? You become a good person. You're no longer possessed by negativity. That's what it means. And that's what the Haftarah is referring to. When the Pasuk says, Beruach hadasha etem bekirbechem, I'm giving you a new identity. You're going to be now Mr. Nice Guy. Even though you already are nice. But you are nice only what we know. I don't know how you behave at home. I don't know how you behave on the street. Nobody knows how any of us behaves outside of the holiness of the synagogue. We hope that everybody does right, etc. But occasionally we may have a hiccup. So guess what? Mashiach, 0 hiccups. All good. No more divorces, no more illnesses, no issues of shalom bayit, no pain, no suffering. And that's why the Zohar Kadosh says, the more we understand the tragedy of exile, the more we want Mashiach to come. And that's why the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat asks the famous question, Tzipita leYeshua? Did you have the expectancy that Mashiach will come in your days? I hope we have it. And I think we all have it. Because when we look at the picture of the world at all levels, I think that we are heading that direction. If it's from the political aspect, the cost of living, all this inflation matters. As painful and difficult they are, the Mishnah already wrote in Masechet Sotah that prior to Mashiach's arrival, inflation will climb up. It's written. Check it out, Masechet Sotah, final Mishnah. עד שתכלה פירוטה מן הכיס. the Mishnah says, will come a time in history before Mashiach comes that no more cash. And it is true.
It's coming up. Now we're
No more cash. You want to pay with cash? No. We only process credit card. Who touches cash? Most people get direct deposit, right? You use a card. My only liquid cash that I touch is for tzedakah. That's it. I need to pay an aliyah, credit card. I need to buy something in the supermarket, automatic. That's it. So now we see this Mishnah. עד שתכלה פלותה מן הכיס. Until your pocket will have no longer cash. And it's true. Put my hand on my pocket. Plastic. Plastic. Yeah, I have some cash on me. Just a few dollars. Somebody gave me shekalim before. Some money for the kuppah, tzedakah, and that's the end of the story. So we see gradually, also the Mishnah talks about the collapsing of the government and the travesty of the government. Guess what? We have no government in Israel. Do we have a prime minister today?
no.
No. They ping pong. 2 weeks you, 2 weeks me, 2 weeks one, 2 weeks the other, until after Sukkot. And it's good that they postpone the elections after Sukkot. You know why? Because the Gemara writes, "B'motza'ei shevi'it ben David ba." One of the guaranteed times of potential Mashiach's arrival is Motza'ei Sukkot of the year after Shemitah.
Wow.
That's key.
B'motza'ei shevi'it ben David ba. Why? Very simple. In Israel, now is the year of Shemitah. Shemitah lasts for a whole year. After Shemitah, there is a new mitzvah in the Torah. Mitzvah number 612. Mitzvah 613 is to write your own Sefer Torah. Mitzvah 612 is Akhelet Ha'am, the gathering of the nation to the courtyard of the Bet HaMikdash. Men, women, and children. That mitzvah took place once every 8 years in the Sukkot holiday after Shemitah. And that's why the Gemara writes, "B'motza'ei shevi'it ben David ba." A potential time for Mashiach to come is the year after Shemitah. Needless to say, huh?
To come means to born. When you say to come means to born.
No, Mashiach is born every Tisha B'Av. The Gemara writes, on the afternoon of Tisha B'Av, the essence of Mashiach was created in the world. And every year, Hashem renews that concept. That's why in the afternoon of Tisha B'Av, you're allowed to sit down on the chair after Hasot. Now, obviously, that we do not need to wait till the afternoon of Tisha B'Av for Mashiach to come. We don't need to wait till Sukkot of next year, so to speak, for Mashiach to come. The Rambam writes that one of the 13 principles of faith is believing Ahakelo bechol yom sheyavo. I want Mashiach to come today. I don't want to wait 3 months. Even though maybe better, you know what? Let him come today. That's it. Doesn't come today, hopefully will come tomorrow. And the moment that we're going to be ready, Be'ezat Hashem, it will happen. It says, this will finish. More than we want Mashiach to come, Mashiach wants to come.
Amen.
But if he doesn't get the green light from the commander-in-chief, that means HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we need to wait and do more teshuvah
Amen.
and increase in good deeds and ma'asim tovim, and this Be'ezat Hashem will turn. That's why I'll finish with something very beautiful, and we'll discuss this at length throughout the next few days. But as I said in the beginning of the class, the month coming up, it's called the month of Av. Av. What's the meaning of Av in Hebrew? Father. So ask the Ben Ish Hai, why is this month called Father? if it's a month plagued by suffering and tragedies for the Jewish people, why do you call it Father? It says the Ben Ish Hai, she'atid chodesh Av liyot Av lekol hachodashim. Will come a time in history that the best month of the calendar will become the month of Av. Why? David HaMelech says it. Samechenu kimot einitanu. Translation. David HaMelech says to the Almighty, Dear God, brings us happiness like the days of our suffering. It says the Ben Ish Hai that if the month of Av, especially in the 9 days, brought so much hardship and pain and suffering to the Jewish people throughout history, so it means that the 9 days have the power to reverse from pain and suffering to miracles and salvation. So we hope and pray, Be'ezat Hashem, that Hashem listen to our fervent prayer of sending the Geula to all of Am Yisrael, and Be'ezat Hashem, this will happen very, very soon. B'mira v'yameinu, Amen. Baruch Adonai Le'olam.